You ever notice how the moment you stop trying to prove yourself to everyone else, life feels a little lighter? Because here's the truth. Most of us spend years changing, not for ourselves, but for the approval of people who don't even care enough to notice. But one day, I looked in the mirror and asked, am I living for them or am I living for me? And that question changed everything. There comes a point in every person's life when they realize how much of their energy has been spent trying to adjust, bend, and shape themselves into what others expect of them. It begins quietly, often in childhood, when we start to notice the looks of approval or disapproval from parents, teachers, or friends. We learn that certain behaviors earn us smiles, praise, and belonging, while others bring frowns, silence, or rejection. Without even thinking, we begin to betray pieces of ourselves, leaving parts of our personality or our desires behind, just so the room feels more comfortable. We do it again and again until it becomes second nature, until we almost forget what our unaided selves even look like. But if you look closely, you'll find that beneath all those layers of compromise, your true self is still there, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be freed from the prison of other people's expectations. The cost of betraying yourself is never small. It takes energy to pretend, to carry the weight of a version of you that isn't authentic. When you silence your opinion in a conversation because you don't want to rock the boat, it seems harmless, but inside you feel the sting of dishonesty. When you choose a career path because it pleases your family rather than feeds your soul, you may look successful on the outside, but the emptiness creeps in during quiet moments. When you say yes to commitments you don't have the heart for, simply to avoid letting someone down, you end up letting yourself down instead. This is betrayal, not the kind that someone else does to you, but the kind you commit against yourself little by little every time you trade your truth for someone else's comfort. We convince ourselves that it's kindness, that it's noble, that putting others before ourselves is what makes us good people. And yes, there is beauty in compassion, in generosity, in sacrifice when it is chosen freely. But there is a difference between giving from a place of abundance and constantly silencing yourself to avoid conflict, rejection, or discomfort. Betraying yourself is not kindness, it is self-abandonment. And the more you abandon yourself, the harder it becomes to recognize who you are. You wake up one day surrounded by people who are comfortable, people who approve, people who benefit from your shrinking, but you find that you are restless, unhappy, and unfulfilled. And that is when you begin to ask the hard questions: whose life am I really living? How much of me is me? And how much of me is just a mask to make someone else feel safe? The truth is, people's comfort is a moving target. You could bend yourself 1,000 different ways and still never fully meet their expectations. One person wants you to be quieter. Another wants you to be more outspoken. One person wants you to stay the same. Another insists you should change. If you live your life trying to manage everyone else's reactions, you will never stop moving and you will never find peace. That's why betraying yourself for the sake of others is not just exhausting, it is endless. No matter how much you give up, someone will always find another piece of you that doesn't fit their image. The cycle has no finish line, only deeper levels of emptiness, unless you make the choice to stop. Stopping means taking a stand for your own truth, even when it unsettles people. It means saying no to the invitations that drain you, even when it disappoints. It means choosing a path that lights your fire, even when others don't understand it. It means speaking your opinion calmly but firmly, even when it challenges the group. It means embracing the parts of you that others may call too much, too intense, too different, and realizing those very qualities are what make you whole. Stopping the betrayal is not about becoming selfish, it is about becoming aligned. It is about remembering that your first responsibility is to live authentically, not to keep everyone else at ease. And yes, the cost of this shift can be high. Some people will walk away when you stop betraying yourself for them. Some will accuse you of changing, of becoming difficult, of being inconsiderate. Some will resist your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. That discomfort is real, but it is temporary. What lasts is the freedom that comes from standing in your truth. What lasts is the quiet relief of knowing you no longer have to hide or pretend. What lasts is the dignity of being able to look yourself in the mirror and know that you are no longer abandoning yourself for the sake of approval. When you stop betraying yourself, You discover who truly belongs in your life. The people who only valued you when you bent to their comfort will fade, but the ones who celebrate your authenticity will remain. You will find relationships that thrive on honesty rather than performance, on respect rather than manipulation. You will attract opportunities that align with your strengths rather than demand your silence. You will begin to feel whole again because you are no longer divided between who you are and who you pretend to be. This wholeness becomes the foundation for everything else. Your work, your relationships, your sense of peace, all of it flows more naturally when you are no longer at war with yourself. Think about the times you have felt most alive, most at peace, most unshakably confident. Those moments did not come when you were twisting yourself into knots for someone else's approval. They came when you were unapologetically you, when your actions matched your values, when your voice carried your real thoughts, when your choices reflected your true desires. That alignment is where freedom lies. And the more you taste it, the less willing you are to go back to betrayal. You realize that betraying yourself is too high a price to pay for someone else's comfort because their comfort comes and goes, but your truth is permanent. It is not easy to stop betraying yourself because the habit runs deep. It takes courage to face the possibility of rejection, to risk discomfort, to tolerate the tension that comes with saying no or standing firm. But the alternative is a slow erosion of self that leaves you hollow. The alternative is a life that looks good on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. The alternative is waking up at the end of your days realizing you lived more for them than for you. And that realization is far heavier than the discomfort of disappointing someone in the moment. Every single day begins and ends with you. No matter who is in your life, no matter how much you give to them, no matter how close they are, you cannot escape the fact that the one person you will always wake up with and the one person you will always go to bed with is yourself. You carry your own thoughts, your own choices, your own memories, your own regrets, your own victories, and your own mistakes everywhere you go. People can step in and step out of your life, but you remain. That permanence is why the relationship you have with yourself matters more than anything else, because it sets the tone for every other relationship and every decision you make. You can fool the world with a smile, you can impress them with success, you can please them with compliance, but at the end of the night when the world quiets down, you are left with you, and only you know the truth about how you really feel inside. Many people spend their whole lives ignoring this reality. They devote themselves to making others proud, to looking good in front of strangers, to maintaining appearances, to doing what will earn applause. They chase approval because it feels safer than facing their own reflection. But no matter how many people you please, if you betray yourself in the process, the silence at night will feel heavy. Because no matter how loud the crowd is during the day, they go home to their own lives. And you still go home to yourself. And if the self you go home to is resentful, empty, or ashamed, no amount of outside noise can fill that void. The truth is always waiting in the quiet. The truth always finds you when no one else is around. This is why self-respect is so critical. When you choose actions that align with your values, when you honor your boundaries, when you treat yourself with dignity, you build a relationship with yourself that you can actually live with. Imagine being stuck in a room with someone you don't trust, someone who constantly betrays you, someone who lies to you, someone who ignores your needs. It would be unbearable. But that is exactly what happens when you live in a way that disregards your inner truth. You become trapped with a version of yourself that you don't like, and you can't run away because you are always with you. On the other hand, when you act with integrity, when your words and actions match, when you pursue the things that genuinely matter to you, you create a self that you are proud to be around. You become your own ally instead of your own enemy. It is not selfish to prioritize this relationship. It is not arrogant to take care of yourself first. In fact, it is the only way to truly contribute to the world. Because if you are miserable inside, if you are constantly tearing yourself down, if you are living a life that feels false, then everything you give to others will come from a place of exhaustion and resentment. But when you are at peace with yourself, when you respect the life you are living, when you are honest about what you want and need, the energy you bring to others is more generous, more authentic, more sustainable. Your outer life reflects your inner life, and your inner life is shaped by the way you treat yourself day after day. Think about it this way: other people only see fragments of you. They see the moments you show them, the parts you allow, the version of yourself you choose to present. But you see every side. You know every thought, every fear, every secret, every desire. You know the things you've hidden, the promises you've broken, the times you've pretended. No one else has access to the full picture, and no one else has to live with that full picture but you. That is why it doesn't matter if everyone else believes in you if you don't believe in yourself. It doesn't matter if everyone else praises you if deep down you know you are lying to yourself. It doesn't matter if the whole world thinks you are winning if you know you are losing in your own eyes. The standard that matters most is not theirs, it's yours. The problem is that most people ignore this inner standard until it becomes unbearable. They run from themselves by staying busy, by distracting with entertainment, by numbing with habits that keep them from feeling. But no matter how much you avoid, eventually the mirror forces you to face reality. Eventually, the consequences of your choices show up. And when that moment comes, you either feel the peace of knowing you honored yourself or the pain of knowing you didn't. The mirror doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't care about how many people you impressed. It doesn't care about who approved of you. It only reflects the truth. And if you cannot look at yourself with respect, no external validation will make up for it. That's why building a healthy relationship with yourself is about more than self-esteem slogans or positive affirmations. It is about choices. The way you talk to yourself matters, but the way you act matters even more. When you follow through on your commitments to yourself, when you stand up for your values, when you pursue the life that aligns with your heart, you are proving to yourself that you can be trusted. And the more you trust yourself, the easier it becomes to face the silence, to live in your own skin, to sit with your own thoughts. You no longer need the noise of others to drown out your inner voice, because your inner voice has become a source of guidance instead of guilt. It is also important to understand that you are the only one who truly knows what it feels like to be you. People can guess, they can assume, they can empathize, but they will never fully know your experience. Only you know the battles you fight in your head. Only you know the weight of your past, the depth of your dreams, the quiet fears that wake you up at night. Because of that, only you can make the choices that honor that reality. If you hand that responsibility to others, you are asking them to live your life for you, and they can't. They don't carry your consequences. They don't walk in your shoes. They don't lie awake with your thoughts. You do, which is why you must live in a way that you can live with, regardless of what they say. This doesn't mean shutting people out or ignoring wise counsel. It doesn't mean rejecting connection or becoming hardened. It simply means remembering that when the lights go off, when the applause fades, when the opinions quiet down, you are left with yourself. And in that moment, the question is simple: are you at peace with the choices you've made? Or do you feel the sting of self-betrayal? Do you feel pride in who you are becoming or shame in who you've abandoned? Do you feel companionship in your own presence? Or do you feel like a stranger in your own skin? Those questions matter more than any opinion because they define the quality of the only relationship that will never end, the one you have with yourself. What do you think about this video? Tell me in the comments.